Good afternoon. Calling to order the meeting of the Button County Board of Elections for Tuesday, May 14th, 2024, second primary day. It's good to see people in attendance. If you can't be voting, I'm glad you're here. Mr. Whitney, do we have anyone tuned in online? Nobody through Teams? Well, hopefully we've got folks tuned in through the portal. We do stream all of our meetings live, and we hope that everyone who wants to will participate virtually or in person. The first item of business today is review and approval of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the agenda? Without objection, we will approve the agenda for the meeting of Tuesday 14th. Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Next item is office updates. I fear we probably have a few. Director Duncan.
We do have a few. Thank you. So before we get started on the numbers updates that I think everybody is probably interested in, I wanted to introduce our new candidate coordinator. So this is Nate Spire, and he comes to us. He is actually from Bryson City, but went to UNCA, and he comes to us from the Army as a paralegal, and has also done AmeriCorps work. And this is his second day, election day at second day. He's been working great with Victoria, so I just wanted to welcome him to the team.
All right, welcome, sir. Good to have you aboard.
All right, so now moving on to the numbers for today. So we have the 10-4 numbers, which you probably all have been following along, maybe online. But right now, as of 4 o'clock, we're up to 1,240 voters. So as you recall from yesterday, we had 122 absentee and 262 early voting. So you can add those to this total, but we will see some more, of course, when results come in this evening. And I wanted to remind everyone how that works. So this evening at 7:30, we'll be able to post those absentee numbers immediately. And then we will close our one early voting site. So we should be able to do that pretty quickly and get those results pretty fast after the absentee by mail results. And then we'll wait for the flash drives to come in. It might take slightly longer because there's only 3 poll workers at each of the locations. So it might take a little bit longer for those flash drives to come in, but it shouldn't be a lot. And then reminding everyone that those results are unofficial results. We have a lot to do in the between time, so we'll process provisionals, any absentees. We did have some absentees come in today. So any of those we'll process, and then we will canvass on the 24th. So that's when the results will become official for each of the counties all across the state. Actually, all 100 counties are doing the same process. And then the state will canvass shortly after that for official results. So that is my update, because we'll just roll into the early voting plan, and we have we can do updates on that.
Great. And the next agenda item is early voting plan.
Okay. Can you hear me? How are we, Devin, there in sound? We good? Okay, just making sure. All right, I'm back. So, I think this is the 4th Tuesday in a row. I don't remember. Everything's running together. Okay. So, I'd like to just start with where we left off last Tuesday, just kind of recap what we were looking at. So we ended up last week, the proposed plan was we were at 14 sites if a Southwest location could be secured, with again our weekday hours of 8 to 7:30, opening those 2 Saturdays plus the 1 Sunday, and then of course the mandated last Saturday, which is the 2nd. So that's as of 5/7. In the next slide, we list the sites that we proposed. All of these are exactly what you've seen throughout all these meetings. Staff is recommending the Reynolds Village over the North Asheville Library, just because we feel that if we are not 100% guaranteed that space on our own, it's just going to create a lot of issues in that library. That's a very busy library with parking in the room. So we can go to Reynolds Village, secure a much larger site, increase our capacity, and hopefully serve voters there. Then the rest is fine. And then on the 14th site, we left it open because we were hoping to have something for you. So that has not been the case, but we're not giving up yet. Okay. So again, we did open the public engagement survey online. We opened it that last Tuesday evening, and we closed it Friday. So none of those numbers really changed. In the next slide, public engagement, we still had over 1,200, 880 responses, over 800 comments. In that time frame, we only had one additional comment. And that was just promoting the Upper Hominy Fire Station as a possible Southwest location, is the additional comment that we received. So everything else still stayed the same. In the next slide, still 75% is approving it as is, with 16 just approving it with just some minor changes. In the next slide, that didn't change either. Just the percentages and what people really liked about the plan, again, our hours, our period, or the sites that we have, everything that we're doing. And then what they didn't like about the plan in the next slide was, again, they wanted, more weekend voting, the concerns about the duration. Some people think it's too long. We don't have a say in that. Need for additional sites in rural areas, and then, of course, the concerns about the UNC-A site, which I think we've kind of, we know where we're going to be. We have a location. We've identified parking. The construction to the main, into the main entrance will be done by the fall. It'll be done actually this summer. And so all those, obstacles I think we will be able to overcome. We can do additional signage to make sure that people really can find us. And so I think we'll be okay. In the next slide, so here's what I think Corrine yesterday gave you all a brief kind of like a little recap of what we've done in since last Tuesday. We did go out to Beaver Dam Community Center, but it's simply just not suitable. Power and accessibility, the parking is gravel, it just wouldn't work. Pole Creek Baptist, I still haven't heard anything from them. They were called and they were emailed multiple times. I did try to reach Hominy Baptist Church. That is in Candler too. I called and I haven't heard back from that. And then the Maple Ridge Baptist Church declined our request, unfortunately. The Sunday voting is really hard for them. And so what we are proposing, and we can talk about this in the next slide, is again, sticking with the 13 early voting sites that we have confirmed and we know we can use. And those sites are like we've listed, and we'll list them again. With these hours, that hasn't changed, so we stick to that. What we can do, and in the next slide we can do, is, and this is something that the board can choose to do, is we can pass the plan, and this is our suggestion, is pass the plan as is with the stipulation that I actually spoke to the chief again at Upper Hominy. They have a board meeting this Thursday at 7 o'clock. We would like, if you all would like us to pursue this, to go to that meeting, speak to the board of directors, explain to them what we do, how we're going to do it, and just kind of reassure them, and the importance of what we're doing. We think that we can hopefully answer their questions. If they have any, anything else that they want to bring to our attention, we can address it at that point. I think a face-to-face would do, I think, a world of difference with me just, talking to the chief. Let's, talk to the actual board of directors. We're willing to go there at 7 o'clock on this Thursday, and talk to the board to see if they would reconsider. And then what we could propose is that we would give ourselves till Friday to see if that, or maybe I can, maybe one of the other churches, and then if we don't hear, or they still say no, then we move with what sites we have. again, that's just another option that the board can consider. And Corrine, if you want to add your,
Okay,
Makes sense. Yeah.
I'm just really interested in knowing what my colleagues
yeah, thank you.
feel about that.
I'm really glad to hear it. I was just thinking about if we couldn't get the fire department to understand why this is important, that at least before the next time around, we would really work hard at developing a relationship with these folks.
Exactly.
So I think it's a wonderful idea, and if you think one of the board members, it would be good for one of the board members to go with you guys. That would be something I would also suggest. So.
Okay.
Mr. Aceto, Ms. Brain, Mr. Schultz?
Did I remember right that Jupiter was inviting our participation, and that they welcomed it? The contingency that we dropped to 13, if we can't find, gives me hives, a real roaring case of the hives. I've kind of got it stuck in my head that I want to add a rural site. And if we ended with a plan that does not have a rural site because we can't meet a contingency, I would be distraught. And so I would be, I would support that we, I would rather have a certain rural site than have a shot at one and end up with 13. And I like the idea that somebody wants to have an early voting site on their, particularly a fire department. And this is our opportunity, thank you. Is it on? Okay, this would be our opportunity to demonstrate to the skeptics that whatever your experience was with voting, early voting prior in your fire station, that it's a brand new day, clean sheet of paper, new people. Whatever happened in 2012 is ancient history, and that we would demonstrate what a great community experience there is to be had by hosting an early voting site. And Jake raised a concern about churches. The more I thought about it, the more I think he's right. And of course, there's the problem of Sunday, but it's just the optics of it are difficult. So I'm leaning to say that I really would be very reluctant to support a plan that leaves me with 13 sites and no rural site. But I like the idea that we go to where we are invited and wanted. And as you say, there's always another election. We can visit this later, but I do not want to enter this election without an additional rural site. And so that's kind of where I am on it. And Jake is fluttering. So
No, I just want to make sure I understand, clearly what your preference is. And please forgive me if I have misinterpreted your remarks, but you are interested in having staff attend the board meeting at Upper Hominy Fire and Rescue. But if that ends up being a non-starter, then we immediately pivot to Jupiter. Or is your preference to go to Jupiter and just forget Upper Hominy?
I'm thinking let's just go straight to Jupiter. I mean, I want the staff's in, like all of your input on that, but I've pursued this informally. I don't want to go into everything that I've done and said.
Sure.
I went and looked. I understand the problem with Beaver Dam. That looks like a non-starter to me. Upper Hominy has a gorgeous new building. I didn't realize that. I mean, the old one's across the street. Now, that 2012, that's where I think everybody would have been, and I'm not surprised that was a disaster movie. But this thing is one. It's like like Schwananoa that we just added, Beatree. It's a purpose-built community building that it's gorgeous. But it sounds like we're getting pushback all the way around on that. And I just like, it just sounds like work. If we've got a rural site that has that's a good facility, and people are asking us to locate there and saying yes, please, they want to engage the community in a voting sense, then I'm inclined to say let's just go straight to it and show the nice people at Upper Hominy how well this could work, and maybe next time they'll invite us. But this time, it just, the idea of stuffing something down somebody's throat, even if the law is, it gives us that ability. I mean, the more I think about it, it's just not the way I want to do business. But if we've got somebody, a rural site that wants us, even if the demographics may be a little more sparse, I'm going to take the long view, which is every time we have a success at a site, whether it's urban, rural, or in between, we create the conditions for a successful, more successful election next time around. So, Corrine, if that's your impression, is that Jupiter's saying, please come, well, I would support. I just want to hear what you all have to say. Honestly, the last person who talks to me can talk me into something pretty easily, but I mean, go straight to Jupiter. I mean, I just want to be able to say that.
Yeah.
Both of y'all have made excellent points. I'm skeptical that anything will work out at Hominy, but the southwest part of the county is where we need the early voting site the most. So I guess I'm more in agreement with Sally that we should give it one last chance. And I'm skeptical that it'll work, but one last chance. And I guess I shouldn't express my skepticism so openly in the meeting, but I know you've worked yourself to the bone, and we really need an early voting site in the southwestern part of the county more than the northern part of the county. But if that doesn't work, I'm with Steve to pivot to Jupiter, because it strikes me there's less need of a site up there. And Corrine made an interesting point the other day about when she was growing up in Arizona, and when they went to vote, it was when they were going somewhere else to do something else. And Jupiter is way up at the top of the county, and it may not get very many voters, but it's worth a try. So I think we need to have another rural. I think the rural areas have kind of been left out. So I think we need another rural early voting site so that they have access to early voting, and to give also to give the sense that everybody counts in the county when it comes to early voting.
Jake, if I might take one last shot.
Please.
We've kind of made it a theme around here to engage skeptics, knowing that we prevent them from becoming cynics. And maybe they'll drink the Kool-Aid and become enthusiastic supporters of the process and the program. And I feel like in the couple of years here that I've been on the board, that's exactly what I've seen going on, and I'm very grateful that the board supports it, Jake supports it, the staff supports it. So. That's why I just say I don't feel any need to really push hard on anybody. Even if that I want to engage them, if they're skeptics. If they're cynics, I can't fix that. Maybe they'll shift to becoming skeptics after they see other people drink the Kool-Aid. I mean, we don't know. But I see this as part of the long-term project of this board, engaging people that are skeptical of our process for whatever reason, history or whatever, and we're convincing them that we recognize their concerns are our concerns, We honor them, and we welcome them. And that welcoming atmosphere has worked quite well, and I think it will continue to, because I sense that you all are committed to it, and I appreciate that very much. So with that in mind, that's why I'm saying I'm willing to go straight to Jupiter and just land there, and we'll come back to this other place. But Glenn, you're right. I mean, demographically, the Southwest seems to be is a reason for priority. So, like I said, y'all talk me into something, and I'll probably go along. But we'll see. As long as you give me a rural site, I'll go along.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to
Please,
speak
Ms. Stein.
too. I totally hear where Mr. Cito's coming from, and totally agree with that around the importance of another rural site. I do not understand, though, if I don't sense the pressure that maybe I heard from you about pushing something down their throats. I mean, I don't know that we have that information yet. We know that they didn't want it because of what happened in the past. This is an opportunity for us to give them more information on Thursday that may shift completely how they see it. The board may be different. They're holding on to old information. I'd say because the demographics are such, and then that to me would be a much better sign if we could get them to understand the importance and want to get on board right now, to not wait to get them on board for the next time around if we have the opportunity, which it sounds like we may Thursday night. I don't know before if the board's ever been out to the board at fire department, so this or the staff. So I think this is a really good possible intervention. We'll have much more information after they've given their presentation, and then we can again go to Jupiter. But I would encourage the board to consider that like Glenn talked about, that first is Upper Hominy Fire Department, and then we defer to the Jupiter if Upper Hominy doesn't want to play for whatever their reasons might be. But I'm not sure we've given them a fair chance yet.
Ms. Brain, we haven't heard from you yet. Okay, fire away.
If we choose to go the route to speak to Upper Harmony again, that means we've already approved the other 13 sites. Can we then go back and actually change it? Or will the state let us do that?
So I think if we have an identified plan is what they're looking for. So if we say we have the 13, we're sticking to that, and then in this timeline, which has to be done by the 21st, then we have this flow chart of choices to add a 14th site, and it's either going to be this identified site or this identified site that they would accept that.
At the moment, I'm surprised, but I'm leaning to moving to Jupiter, because it sounds to me like Upper Hominy doesn't want us for whatever reason. I mean, they've said it was past, but they've been called more than once. You've, spoken to more.
I've spoken to the chief, yes, on a
More than
different, yes, on a couple
and
of
I would
occasions.
assume that he knows his board.
He was actually the one that encouraged us to come to Thursday's meeting. He's in support of us being there.
Well, could we shift this to where we're approving 13 sites, including Jupiter?
That would be 14.
Well, yeah, that would be 14. I'm concerned too that we've had discussion of the next step would be to quote the statutes and say we can take it if we want it. And I don't see that that's the best way to proceed.
The sense I've gotten from this group is this board doesn't want to proceed
No.
in that direction. Rather, as Ms. Stein suggested, participate in this meeting on Thursday, share information with the board, build a relationship. apparently the chief is ready to welcome early voting for 2.5 weeks. And it may well be that when staff presents information about how early voting is conducted in Macomb County in 2024, they'll roll out the red carpet and say, oh, great, it'll work. In which case, you know, I would want to be there. But if that doesn't happen, if they say, well, you know, thank you for coming in and sharing this information, we just don't think it's going to work, then, you know, first thing Friday morning, hello, Jupiter, how are things? We'd love to accept your invitation. I like the idea of Upper Hominy Fire and Rescue just because of where it is and a greater population. And as Mr. Aceto pointed out to us, it's a really beautiful facility that sounds like it would be very well suited for this. But, you know, doing the arm twisting doesn't make sense here, and we don't need to do it. So,
Well, that's, I feel like in a way that's what we're approaching.
well, that's the chief is saying, please come out and talk to my board. I think the chief feels secure about having us do this, but there are some members of the board who don't. And I can only speculate what the chief's thinking is on this, but I'm guessing that he believes if our staff go and answer any questions that the members of the board have and describe our process, what we do when we're there, what our imposition would look like, that might reduce the reluctance of the board members and have them say yes to it. It might not work out that way, in which case we say, you know, thank you for your time. We do appreciate it. And we go to Jupiter. But that way we would get one or the other this week. That's attractive to me, it is. I also want 14 sites. And to my mind, the question is, are we going to do it in the southwestern part of the county or the northern part of the county? Either one would be rural. I think either one would be acceptable to all the members of this board, and we would be excited to have 14 places. I'd like to give staff a crack at the Upper Hominy Fire and Rescue Board of Directors. We've got a pretty good staff, and they do really, really good work that has been regarded well across partisan lines. And I don't know. I got a lot of trust in these folks, and I'd like to give them a shot at going out there. But I don't want to. I want a consensus. I want all 5 of us on the same page here, because early voting plan is one of the few things we do where we really do have discretion, and I want to make sure that all 5 of us are fully supportive of whatever we put forward.
Director?
Your turn.
Thank you. Okay, so first, the choose. I think that the idea to add a rural site is a good one. I do think that the southwest corner is the one that's most in need, but the north is has a lot of population out there too. So I like this idea of between Upper Hominy and Jupiter. It is true that Jupiter is welcome. They've reserved it for us already. That's ours if we want it. So that's there. Today was the first time that I spoke with the chief too, and I got the sense that their board needed more information. So I think that relationship building is very important to me. So I don't see a downside to going out and just if we're just building that relationship and that's all we get out of it, great. We actually have already started building that relationship with that chief because he has joined our emergency preparation meetings. So that is why I think that he is on board, knowing the challenges, of course, like fire department sharing with early voting is a challenge. So we need to recognize that they're delivering a community service, we're delivering a community service, and there's parking issues and things, and so we have to be very extra careful at fire departments to be respectful. Those people are living at the fire department. We have to treat it like it's their home. So we need to make sure that we're acting that way. I got the sense that their board was mixed on opinion, and they wanted more information. Without that more information, it's a no, and I think that is what happened. So I think that it's worth a shot going out there and having a chat with them, and just showing up, I think, is something that they'll appreciate, whether they say yes or no. So my thought is recognizing that both of these sites are not around any other amenities, and so my belief is that they will be low turnout sites, but we're covering parts of the county that we haven't before, and I think that's worth it. That we try for Upper Hominy because there's more population out that way, and then if that doesn't work out, we go to Jupiter.
Mr. Quinn.
Mr. Aceto.
Sounds very reasonable in principle. And, I'm perfectly willing to go and show up. I used to be a fireman, 40 years ago, but I was a fireman ENT and volunteer in Black Mountain and part-time paid with the state and the federal for wildfires. So the world has changed since then, but, like now they use leaf blowers to put out wildfires. First time I saw that, I went, what? We was out there with rain. So it's a different world. But I understand the importance of the firefighters to control the space, because they are always, you never know when two jets are going to fly into a building. I mean, their imaginations are very fertile and rightly so. I mean, that's what we demand of them. So, and so I understand the reluctance to turn over the space. So, and God only knows what else is going on out there. I mean, it's way the heck out there. So I'm, I'm perfectly willing to go and try and convince them and say that, I would be your advocate. I know what you're doing in that space and how important it is, that you don't want a bunch of people milling around, if two airplanes fly into a building. And I mean, I get that. That's not facetious. That's the reality of what the emergency services, fire service does every day. So, but I am really concerned about taking a contingency before the state board and coming away with that and say, oh, you've chosen 13 sites, that's what you get. As I say, I would be beyond distraught if that happened. And that is my concern. And that's why I am more concerned about that happening than that we end up with a site that may not be as well used. I'm worried about going with a contingency to the state board. We don't control what they're going to do with that. The statute, to me, is, in this situation, is not really clear. I don't see a provision for presenting a contingency in a plan. I do see that the state is required to evaluate alternatives. There is a standard for that. Interestingly, it's not the standard that applies to us. Our standard is just that we all five have to agree. Their standard is it has to be demonstrably meet the requirement that it doesn't favor any candidate, any party, any ethnicity, any whatever. I can't remember the mantra, but the point being that there's enough wiggle room for the state that we might end up with 13 sites, and I want to go to great lengths to avoid that. I want to support a plan that will give us a rural site for sure.
Yeah, I don't think anyone here is promoting a 13-site plan, Steve.
And I'm worried about when that goes to the state. Will they honor our representation that we want a 14-site plan? If you can look me in the eye and tell me that, then I'll go with you to Upper Hominy Thursday night and I'll make my speech. But I want to know that at the end of the day, I'm not going to walk out of here with a 13 site and then no rural, 13 voting sites and no rural site. That's my anxiety.
And I believe your view is shared by all 4 of your colleagues on this board. We all want and expect to submit to the state a 14-site plan, not a 13-site plan with a contingency. We want to settle this thing this week, and if we don't get Upper Hominy this week, we do Jupiter, and then that's what we file with the state. Am I
Because that's
misunderstanding?
what I'm getting here, and that's what it says. 13 sites.
Well,
with
that's
the contingency.
Right, but
All
we
right.
haven't voted on this, and there will be one of us will make a motion to approve a specific early voting plan. None of us have done that yet. We're going to have this discussion and then get to that motion. But that's why it's so important that we all understand how each of us are viewing this, and that we all understand one another's expectations on this.
I just have one question, and I don't deal with the state board, but do they do they tend to be fairly flexible in situations like this, or do you know?
So, I want to be clear. So we got the extension, and we wanted it to be through today. But we confirmed with the email that Karen sent to us that we can extend all the way to the 21st. So that's next. So we could,
It's Tuesday.
you could say to staff the contingency flow chart plan, but what we submit will be 14 sites.
Right.
So we wouldn't have a contingency with the state board.
Okay, because there's a gap down here after 13.
Right.
Okay?
And
Yes.
that is a staff proposal, and we've all had the benefit of having that presented to us. We thought about it, we've been discussing it, and as a result of that discussion, we're looking at the staff proposal. We want to add something to it. We want it to conform to our expectations, and so that is what this board will end up voting to do. I have every confidence that this board is going to vote to approve a 14-site early voting plan for Buncombe
Regardless,
County.
yeah.
But, Mr. Aceto, thank you for your offer to join staff on Thursday and help our friends at the Upper Hominy Fire and Rescue Board understand what we do and how we do it. Because information is our friend on this. Information is the best way to knock down barriers, I think. And, if we don't succeed, as Director Duncan pointed out, we will have taken important steps in relationship building, and maybe some future election, we'd be able to use that site. That is, of course, if we aren't using these yet. Director Duncan, did you have anything you wanted to add to this?
I hope that it's obvious, but I just wanted to because relationships are important to me, me going to the meeting would not be a pressuring them to take the site type of meeting. It would be a helping them with any concerns that they have, giving them the information that they need to fully make the decision, which I don't think they have right now. So I just want to assure the board that that's the attitude that we would go into their board meeting with.
Mr. Quid, if you might.
Mr. Aceto.
I think that's enormous, Corinne. That's just huge. I would like to know that going there, that we can look them straight in the eye and say, if you tell us to go straight to Jupiter, we will. We're already there. And we are not here to subtly say, you really ought to offer this to us, or we hate to see something bad happen to this very nice fire station. I just that is just the last place I want to go with these good people.
This is a tough board of elections.
Is to go, even though my last name ends in a vowel, you know that. So I think that I would want to be able to look them straight in the eye and say, we're not here to force anything on you. We're here to invite you to invite us. If you don't want to invite us, we have another plan, and that we're very confident we're going to be able to execute. So, the world is not, the world is not dancing around, around this board's decision that, we've got an alternative, but we wanted to ask you first. And if you say no, so be it. You're still our friends. Come vote in, send your folks to Inca Campbell Library or wherever you want to. They'll be welcomed there. And meanwhile, we're going to build something up at the top of the up north, and then we'll come back and see you again sometime. We know you'll still be here, and hopefully we'll be better qualified next time around. As far as you can tell. I mean, that's a story I'd love to tell, but I do want to know that we're not going to get stuck.
Steve, I believe that you have accurately outlined the approach that Director Duncan has in mind. And if they tell us to go straight to Jupiter, that's exactly what we'll do. So,
I had
Mr. Schultz.
I don't know if we're through talking, but I had a couple of questions about the Reynolds Village proposed site. Is that?
Well,
Oh, go ahead. I'm
just
sorry.
a question back to the deadline now then. If Thursday night, either way, if we'll approve, are we gonna approve anything tonight? Or do we hold on this until we have this last piece in place?
I plan to make a motion to approve an early voting plan
Of 14?
for this fall
For 14
with
sites.
14 voting sites. And Upper Hominy will be our first choice for number 14, and Jupiter will be our second choice for number 14. And we'll know the answer to that by the end of this week, certainly by a week from today, which is the deadline that the state board has established.
So we wouldn't need to vote again the way that
That
we're
is
hoping
correct.
that we'll put this motion together.
That is correct. And the reason I say that confidently is because the good folks at Jupiter have already given us the thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to try Upper Hominy for a number of reasons, and not the least of which is the relationship building that Director Duncan wants to build on. But I haven't made that motion yet. Is there any more discussion of
I
this?
think Mr. Schultz.
The only thing I'd like to say is my first impression is that I would like to support Jupiter for the fact that they're open and willing and they want us to be there. And I would hate to think that we're saying, well, you're second best. But I understand the contingencies here.
Yeah, we've got,
We do
there's,
our
there's
own
resource limitations. We can
Yeah.
do one more site. And I think the attractiveness of Upper Hominy is just the fact that there's greater population there. That
But-
said,
But looking at the map, it's also, main roads are
right.
as far away or maybe even farther than.
And if we look at the historic data, and admittedly, it is old, they were about the same.
Yeah.
In 2012, Jupiter had 1,427, and Upper Hominy Fire and Rescue had 1,265. So it's close. It could go either way.
Yeah.
But as long as we are going to have 14 sites with one as a rural site, I will
Yes.
support what the board goes for.
Deputy Director Fox, did you have anything more you wanted to add to
No,
this?
I'm excited to go there on Thursday. If all at least put a name with, they could put a name with a face and vice versa, and just introduce ourselves. They don't know us. This is a new staff that, who they dealt with in 2012. Corinne and I were not here in 2012. That was 12 years ago. We've been here 8, and so I'm excited to just, introduce ourselves, explain how we do things, and answer their questions. And if anything, build that relationship, and we maybe come back in 2 years and say, hey, what about, or in 4 years, and then we've got a different outcome.
Mr. Schultz, you had questions about Reynolds Village.
Yeah, last time there was some discussion about whether to use the North Asheville Library Reynolds Village, but my sense is that you're reluctant to use the North Asheville Library because of the construction situation.
Because if they can't coordinate the renovations at the same time that we're having early voting, then the library wouldn't close. And so we would be competing with library patrons for parking, and it's just,
Yeah,
and so to me, it
Understand.
makes more sense to go to Reynolds Village where we can increase capacity and we know we can get a larger space, and parking would be somewhat better.
I guess the question I had is the issue of campaigning by the parties, because that's what political parties do. They, in a lot of
Correct.
respects,
It would not be allowed
uh,
on the Reynolds property.
even on the sidewalk. Now, I wouldn't want them to go out in the street, but that's not really feasible. So there's no opportunity for campaigning at Reynolds, period.
The only thing is and Neggy, correct me if I'm wrong, they can have signs at the entrance of.
Right of ways, at right of ways, which would be at the entrance, at the Merriman entrances. Those would be highway right of ways, and so they would be able to put signs there. But once you enter into the property, that's as far as they go. Obviously, our signs can be put up and all of that's fine, but it's the campaigning signs that they would not allow. Or the people in the sidewalks.
I guess the concern I have is that one thing political parties do is campaign. And they campaign in different ways. And that's what people rely on political parties for, is information about who they think is the best candidate. So if there's somebody out there who's generally votes Republican or generally votes Democratic, then they look to the party to give them some ideas about who the party supports, I guess particularly in nonpartisan races. So when you go to the polling places, there's always somebody. I don't know that the Republicans always have somebody, but typically there's somebody from the Democratic Party who's handing out a voter guide. And some people see those as annoying things, but it's a function that political parties do. They give information to people. They hand out those things. Some people use them. Some people are annoyed by them. But I'm just reluctant to take away the opportunity of political parties to campaign at an early voting site.
Mr. Quinn,
Mr. Aceto.
bothers me too. Bothers me whether the statute requires that we furnish a space for people to do what it is that political parties do, although we've been there before. So tell me again, please, why is it special that we have that at Reynolds Village, or that additional North Asheville site? What are we accomplishing with that? And is that objective so important that we can not have campaigning in a spot? I mean, tell me more.
So the choices between Reynolds Village and North Asheville Library. We know that North Asheville Library is small and has parking issues. We were excited about the idea of eliminating the parking issues by coinciding with their renovation, but we are not sure that we can make that happen. So I am imagining North Asheville Library without the special thing. So I'm comparing the North Asheville Library with the library in operation. So parking situation problems, small site. To Reynolds Village, which is further north, so it's farther away from our downtown locations, which I also think is advantageous. Bigger site, so we can have higher capacity, and we don't have the parking problems. But it is true, no campaigning. The campaigning at North Asheville has been a problem in the past because of the limited parking situation. So if we went there, we would have to have some very good communication about the rules at that site, so it's to make sure that as much parking as possible is available to voters.
Can you be a little bit more specific about that? What are you getting at with it being
Maybe
a problem?
Jake can talk about campaigning at North Asheville.
About North Asheville? It's just really close quarters. And the cars are constant. Well, poll greeters, electioneers, they want to be getting up to a car as it pulls into the parking lot. It gets chaotic. And then one of the difficulties is there is an adjacent strip mall that has a number of small businesses that rely on the parking spaces in front of their stores for their customers. And sure enough, I mean, some early voters, despite the signs that say, you know, customers only, you know, they will vote, they will park there
Yeah.
and then go vote. And the line at the library, because it is a very heavily trafficked early voting site, gets long, which means someone's standing in line for a long time. Their car is in front of a business, which means the customer can't pull in front of, you know, whatever place. It's difficult for library patrons because all they want to do is drop off their books, and they can't even find a place to park. And tempers get short because of all of the mayhem and the close quarters. So I've worked that site many times. It's just really, really difficult. But it is historically one of our top 3 sites. Right? So there is a ton of community interest to vote up in that part of the county. And the challenge is finding a place and accommodate it. And I know that y'all are kind of sick of me here, sick of me talking about Steinmart and Rite Aid. But darned if that hasn't been all over the news lately about Ingalls and their real estate holdings. They're empty real estate holdings. And that's what tears me up, because those sites remain vacant, massive acres of parking, and we're simply not able to use it. Maybe I should call the watchdog. See if they can free up the space. Ms. Brain, did you?
I was going to ask Nagy, is this going to be the same site we've used last time?
No, I would try to get something larger. I want something larger that we can fit more express vote machines for more
But
booths.
do we have a commitment for something larger?
I have confirmed that there is space available. I don't know which site yet within the
Because I went to the last one, and it was pretty small
yes,
also.
it was.
And
Yeah.
it was,
So I would want
difficult.
something larger. I think even the pie company that I think it's too
They're gone.
right. They're
They've
gone,
been-
and so it's empty, and they've got one small, and then next adjacent to where I think people could eat is bigger, and so that's a possibility that I thought we could use that space. It's 2 doors down from where we used it in the primary.
okay.
So we're on the same, we would be in the same area, either on the left side or the right side, but we would be in that same area past the Y.
And I know at one time you actually had businesses on Merriman that agreed to parking,
Yes.
and that has changed?
No. A community member volunteered to go talk to the businesses that were surrounding the North Asheville Branch Library and asked if they had parking spaces that could be used for voters, and he freed up 22 of them. And I would be happy to call Mr. Pierce again.
Yeah.
Toby.
Yep, we've got at the ski
Right.
shop, and then further down at the for the workers, we had the workers parked at the Fresh Market.
Yeah.
Right.
Down
And so,
farther.
yeah, and even the library staff was willing to park somewhere else so that they could free up those sides. So we, they tried to accommodate us, but
So that's how intense it is at that site. I mean, the library workers were willing to park that because they know
parking.
how crazy it gets. And the last time we voted at the North Asheville Branch Library was 2018 in a general election. I can imagine that the demand would be even greater these days. And it was about 10,000 in 2018? No, 8,000. What am I?
Mr. Quinn, did we also have a UNCA site that year?
Yeah, we've had UNCA in 2008, 12, 16, and 20.
Okay.
Every presidential since 2008. Not for primaries, mind you, only for general election. Hello, Director Duncan. I need to put a little mirror here.
Your bell.
Those little round ones. Just making sure that you all have all the information that you need for this particular choice. So I don't want to leave out, which I think you might already have in your head, but the library's free. We got to pay for Reynolds Village, which the smaller site was 6,000, I think is what we paid.
5,000 something, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So I would imagine they charge us more for a little
I'm
bigger
sure they
one.
will,
We do
yes.
have the budget requested, so it's in the
Yes,
budget.
yes.
But just making sure you got all the information.
And how many voters came to the early voting site in Reynolds Village?
In 2020 for the general, it was 6,330. I don't have anything from 22.
time, yeah.
I might have it.
I was just wondering how the turnout compared between the two.
Well, I mean, the North Asheville Branch Library saw more traffic than Reynolds Village. Reynolds Village, I mean, it's off the
No,
beaten
I'm
path.
sorry,
You
I
gotta
don't. I
go
thought
up
I had
Senator Reynolds or
Yeah.
North Merriman to get there. And the library, you just drive past, you see all those signs and you know. That said, with each election that we use Reynolds Village, it just becomes easier for people to find because the routine is being established. That's one of the nice things, that just using the same place over and over and over again, people just learn about it, they figure out how to deal with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the library is definitely superior to Reynolds Village, but it's honest to goodness a safety concern. I mean, I got concerned about, people getting hit, vehicles getting hit. It gets crazy in there. People do things with their cars that they shouldn't be doing. Well, no, I mean, they find odd places to park, just anything. Oh, I'm just going to be in and out.
Yeah.
And then it takes you 30 minutes to get through the line, and we end up with.
And am I
real
remembering
jam.
correctly? There's one way in and one way out. It's not like a.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, you mean the
Yeah,
parking
the
lot?
parking.
The library, yeah.
Well, there's
there-
that, you
there-
have to
there
go
are
to
two
the strip.
entrances,
Yeah,
but that's actually problematic.
yeah. The strip mall has their entrance and exit.
And then the library
and then
has
the library has their
theirs.
entrance, so people could, you could technically go,
But they share them.
but yes, and it becomes it bottlenecks. It's,
It does.
Yeah.
That's the term.
I don't have it.
All right, we have discussed this a long time.
Devin is looking up that number
Okay.
for you, so, and he should have it in just a minute or two.
Okay.
2022 number.
At this point, I am mentally concocting a motion where we would base it on the staff proposal with respect to the hours that we would be open, the weekend days that we would be open. And what we would do is take the slide number 10, and we would add a 14th site to it. And the 14th site would be, we would put it, it would be number 11 on the list. And it would be Upper Hominy Fire and Rescue or Jupiter Fire Department. And based on what happens on Thursday and Friday, then that would be decided. I'm not hearing anything, so I figured no news is good news. In that case,
I'm just waiting for the numbers.
yeah, I don't want to make this motion until we get.
I will make a
Mr.
motion.
Chairman,
Director Duncan?
I would suggest
Thank you.
considering adding a timeline, like a by the 21st.
Yes. Well, I think our objective in this is to come up with an early voting plan about which we have certainty. And that's the challenge with the North Asheville Branch Library. We just can't have the certainty that we need on that. Wish we could. But with these two fire departments, I think we can. And it's, and if we don't get the one, we get the other.
But we could
And
state,
and we'd have a deadline.
we could state Reynolds in the alternative as well. I mean, but my understanding that we have Reynolds Village nailed down, we have reservations about it. Is that what I'm getting?
Well, we could use the North Asheville Branch Library, and they have a project planned that could help us or it could hurt us. And because we don't know exactly when they're going to do that project and have the library closed, we don't want to take the risk. We want the certainty of we're not going to have a traffic problem. And we're not going to have a safety problem.
But for purposes of your plan,
Yes, sir.
is there any reason to state that in the alternative?
Well, we have to have this thing finalized by May 21st, and we won't have any certainty from the library services group about their scheduling until summertime, I'm guessing.
All right, well, I'm gonna make a motion.
Please, sir.
I'm gonna make a motion that, we approve, that, this board would approve 14 early voting sites for the 2024 general election. And that they would consist of Bee Tree Fire Station, Black Mountain Library, East Asheville Library. You with me, AK?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're just reading from the list, right?
Yeah,
I am.
he's ready.
Candler Library, Fairview Library, Friendship Center, Lester Community Center, not Leicester, okay? We understand that. The Twin Cities. Okay, we're north of Newfound Road, so that's Lester. We all understand this. Okay. And Reynolds Village, South Buncombe Library, UNC Asheville Highsmith, Weaverville Community Center, Wesley Grant Center in lieu of the Board of Elections headquarters, 59 Woodford, West Asheville Library, and in the alternative, Upper Hominy Fire and Rescue, Main Station, or Jupiter Fire Department. This motion is contingent on 14 sites being established definitively by May 21st.
Could I offer a friendly amendment?
What might that be?
And that our hours would be 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. on weekdays. It would be open Saturday, October 19th, Saturday, October 26th, and Sunday, October 27th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and November 2nd, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. I just want to get the hours in there along with the sites.
Yes, that is part of the plan.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Would have been embarrassing to try and submit it without that.
We have a complete plan. Thank you, Mr. Aceto. The motion before for the board is to approve an early voting plan for the 2024 general election that has 14 early voting sites and has the hours open from 8 a.m. to 7:30 on weekdays, 10 a.m. to 3 on 10/19, 10/26, 10/27, and 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on November 2nd. And the 14 sites being those that are enumerated in the staff proposal, plus the 14th site being Upper Hominy Fire and Rescue or Jupiter Fire Department. All those in favor, Director Duncan, did you want to?
Yeah, we just wanted to make the motion a little more complicated.
Here it is. It's the
Yeah, we need to
Inclement
include the inclement weather policy as part of the implementation plan.
And I would further like to amend that motion to include the inclement weather policy that is on page 15 of the general election early voting plan that was prepared by staff. And just to remind everybody what the policy says regarding inclement weather, in the event of inclement weather, staff proposes that as part of the implementation plan, we will adhere to the following changes in the hours of operation. If all Buncombe County public offices and libraries close, we're closed. Director of the Board of Elections is responsible for communicating any delays or closings to the personnel operating the early voting sites. Let's get that T in sites there. And notify the public as soon as possible upon receiving the information from Buncombe County. And in case of partial closures, we all have to get together. We have to meet and decide how to proceed. And finally, these changes in hours of operations follow resolution, our resolution 2024-01, which we approved in February of this year. That is the motion before the board. That is rather long-worded. I look forward to Ms. Moore just condensing that down to a bumper strip. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. Thank you. The motion carries 5-0. Deputy Director Fox, thank you for
Thank you so much.
slogging through this and
Yes.
continuing to work on it. I hope everything goes very smoothly on Thursday.
I'm
But
excited.
in any event, I'm sure it's going to be a positive outcome
Exactly.
because Upper Hominy Fire and Rescue is going to know us a lot better,
Exactly.
and we're going to know them a lot better.
We're gonna know them on a
So
first
thank
name
you.
basis.
And I want to thank Mr. Aceto for agreeing to go out and join you and exercise his diplomatic skills to the fullest for the sake of our community. Thank you, Mr. Aceto.
Mr. Quinn,
Yes, sir.
if anyone can deal with North Koreans, they certainly have been prepared to deal with Buncombe Countyans. All right. Now, and I am the only person in this room who can claim that. I visited a number of election sites today. I got universal, without being asked, people telling, your election workers telling me that our elections, Board of Elections staff are the finest people that they have dealt with. One even went so far as to say that as many places that she had worked in her lifetime, her supervisors at the Board of Election staff were the best people she ever worked for. And people named names, and one of those names was Neggy Fox.
All right.
I went to visit
So-
some of the sites also, and I
Thank you.
heard the same thing.
Thank you.
So that's right. I mean, you all are not just approved, you are loved.
Aw.
And they use that word. Now, when we get ready to talk to the firefighters, you've had the benefit of meeting with the emergency operations staff and doing emergency operations plan. I think it's very important to emphasize that. Also, that we consider being able to represent to all the firefighters that part of our plan includes, how the fire service use will be prioritized
Correct.
in the event of an event that creates a conflict, that the fire service will be, that our voting staff understands that our plan will include a way to prioritize the use of the emergency services. And so that's baked into our planning and our presentation.
Okay.
Not that you didn't already think of that, but
Yay!
It's a plan.
It's a plan.
It's a
Woo,
plan.
okay.
Mr. Quinn,
Ms. Breen.
Director, did you have an opportunity to check on contingencies on the UNCA side?
So, talking about emergency preparation
Right.
for campuses. So I asked the question, but haven't gotten a response yet from Ryan Cole. He's our biggest contact at EMS. So we'll continue talking about that.
Well, we
Yep,
got
he
time.
just dropped in today, so I'd mentioned it, but
Okay.
we do nothing definitive yet.
You know,
A
when
good
you
question.
when you go out to Upper Hominy, that might be one of the things that they'd really like to hear about. All of the work that you do in the weeks leading up to the election to coordinate with other government entities in the county. I mean, we get the intelligence about potential disruption through the sheriff's department, through APD, and that's because Director Duncan works closely with those folks. I mean, she spent most of the day with them today.
Yeah, it's not only coordinating, but this is how we learn about what they do and can be better partners. I think that we have learned a lot from the, law enforcement and fire personnel that come to our EMS prep tabletops and briefings and all of that. So it's definitely gone both ways.
And I'm not sure that kind of stuff happened 12 years ago. The last time we were out there at Upper Hominy. I mean, we've got a more robust program now. And, I think they'll like hearing about it. We'll see.
And they've got a better facility.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's use it. All right, we'll see what happens. Good luck, everybody. Well, believe it or not, there's more on the agenda, but thank you for the early voting plan. The next is preliminary absentee results. What are we allowed to start doing now?
We can begin reading in the results, and I can create the abstract, but do you want to wait until 7:15? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will begin reading in the results now.
Okay, thank you.
And now might be a good time for dinner break. So dinner has arrived. I know it'll be a little tight timing, but eat now or don't eat.
You know what I'm going to do.
All right, we are in recess for 1 hour. We will reconvene at 7:10 and get ready for the preliminary absentee results, and then close the early voting polls, and then move on down the street. Well, once we picked up a few flash drives. Thanks, everybody. So. Bailey, it's good to see you back with your ballots.
Okay, I have 3 copies of the abstract. You can please review them.
A reminder not to share results until 7:30.
What are we looking at?
This is a secret.
It's a secret? Okay. Can I be in on
You
it?
and I can do it.
Okay.
So,
Oh, yes, it is a secret. Got it.
look at this. I'm just curious.
Wow. Wow.
I'm just curious to see if there was some. What? Oh, this is the
Yeah,
abstract.
right, absentee.
All right, just curious to see.
So 2/3.
See, I would compare that to election day,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whether it should
Mm-hmm.
in favor of one or the other.
This one's mighty close.
Yeah, if I have my glasses on, it looks like they're tied.
I know.
They're not, are they?
No, they're not, but
My glasses back on. But, yeah.
So that would be 122
yeah.
total.
You think these two are gonna, does this make a
I think that's
difference?
Provision or
They didn't vote it.
American League.
American League.
Yeah, look at
Yeah,
that.
look at that. So, yeah, that's my league.
what I thought.
Yeah, it is.
They made provision for it.
I think that's really nice of them.
Isn't that nice?
And there were no transfers from, I'm glad of that,
No,
because
from
I
other
don't like,
leagues.
I don't like it
From
when
the
that happens,
Niners.
right?
That's good.
What's this one telling us? Total absentee early oh, the voting, early precincts.
Does that mean voters from 39 precincts?
That can't be. Oh,
All right, colleagues,
Fine.
thank you for
Since we're
reviewing the
representing the
absentee abstract that Ms. Bailey shared with us. Anyone have any questions about it? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the absentee abstract for the absentee ballots that we received before 5 p.m. yesterday. Thank you, Mr. Schultz. All those in favor of the motion of approving the absentee abstract that reports the absentee votes received by 5 p.m. on May 13th, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Thank you. The motion carries 5-0, and it is approved.
thank you.
Everybody sign.
What all do we sign here? All these?
I think
I'll
we
let
sign
Bree-
them all. We sign all 3. Thank you, Bria.
What do you
The-
want, like
the-
every page, or what do you think? No, there's a place for us to sign.
Yes,
Thank
there
you.
is.
Just can't just willy-nilly it.
Well, I was going willy-nilly, but you don't have to do that. Just don't do what I do, just you do what you're supposed to do.
Sometimes it coincides.
Not as often as it ought to. Thank you.
This one goes back over that direction.
Yep, and this one also.
yours?
Yeah, it's been sitting there for a while. I think that's a company pen that anybody could use, but
Yeah,
it's got
that's-
an eraser.
I think those are Steve's.
That's what that is. Maybe it's not an eraser.
They don't
Maybe
go
it's the button.
I think it's a button.
He's got his signature on it.
It's not erased ink.
It's his now.
You think, you have to use liquid paper.
Why did you hand this back to me?
Have you signed it?
I don't.
How you doing?
Not because I didn't know what to do.
Just said pass it on.
There's only one that had your signature on it.
It's the only
I knew
official.
I was going to come to regret that.
We follow it.
Didn't take long, did it?
Not as long as it usually does.
So I have a good fun fact for you about liquid paper.
Tell me.
Mickey, Mickey, I can't remember his last
That's why I
name.
drive a white car, because I can use it for touch-up thing.
Well, here's the deal. The main monkeys. Remember the monkeys?
Yeah, sure.
Mickey,
Yeah,
whatever
Eric
his
Clapton
last
and
one.
somebody else.
Yeah, well, the main part of the monkey's mother invented liquid paper.
Wow.
Mickey Dolenz, that's who he was.
Mickey the monkey.
Mickey the
Oh,
monkey.
Mickey the monkey.
His mama. Mickey's mama.
Mickey Mama. Mickey the monkey's mama.
And he was really the only musical talent that
Mickey.
Michael
It was Nesmith, not
Nesmith
Mickey
was.
Dolenz. It was Nesmith's mom.
I thought Eric Clapton was
No,
in that
no,
group.
he was
He
in
was in-
Cream.
bunch of other bands.
Cream. Wasn't he in
Oh,
Cream?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's my favorite old-timey band.
Yeah, you knew that about Nesmith too, huh?
I'm a Michael Nesmith fan. I've got
I
a
like
playlist
him.
of
I
Michael
like
Nesmith.
I like his
Well, you hurt my
music.
feelings.
When he left that band and went out on his own, he started a band called Great American Something.
I've got that album somewhere. I had it. Yeah,
It was,
yeah.
you know, little country, little western,
Mhm.
little rock and roll, little ballady type stuff. I love that music.
Yeah.
He's a very talented guy.
Yeah, he was. There he is.
And he was the first guy. We're having a meeting here, but it's not 7:30 yet. He was the first guy to really take advantage of the music video.
Really?
Uh-huh.
You look at, he had a song, Joanne. And he did a hilarious music video on that one. Where he changed the name of it from Joanne, which was a nice, beautiful, lovey type song, to Rodan, which was a Japanese flying dragon monster. And
That's
it
hilarious.
just cracked me up back in the day.
Uh-huh.
This is back in the 70s.
He's dead. Did you know that?
No, Michael Nesmith?
Died in 21, heart failure.
So what was the Rodan music video? I'm sorry he's dead. I don't mean to be
Yeah, that's okay.
callous about it.
Yeah.
But so what?
He changed the lyrics to it, just made it hilarious.
So what did he? I mean, in the 70s, what was the music video on? I mean, what was it?
VHS, I
Well,
guess.
I mean, it was MTV
Or was-
type stuff, but it was before MTV started.
Yeah. So what
So,
was
I mean,
the
The
medium?
Beatles made music videos back in the day, in the 60s, but nobody ever saw this stuff.
Well, they
It
made
was
whole
just kind of
movies.
one-off things that they'd be on some local TV station.
Oh gosh.
Weird stuff. And then once MTV and VH1,
VH1.
Showed
yes,
up.
yeah.
all of a sudden you were getting a lot of old material that was being aired, which also gave tremendous inspiration to current artists, and music videos exploded. So, it's not 7:30 yet, so I'm going to continue.
And how much did
Yes.
Michael Nesmith actually inherit from his mother, who
Ooh.
invented the liquid
Are
paper?
you talking about money or talent?
Money. At this point.
I'll bet she was working for some
She probably
gigantic
was.
corporation,
She
and
probably
she got
was.
like $1.50 and a
Yeah.
attaboy.
She was tired of having to start that paper over again every time she she hit the E instead of the
You
I.
know,
I hope she got a
the
patent.
person who invented the eraser mouse lives in Asheville, teaches school, And he was working for IBM as an engineer, and that was something he came up with. And I think he got like $1,500 or something in an attaboy.
She
mean, he didn't seem to be mad
she
about
actually
it.
set up a foundation for women. That's pretty cool.
Oh, so she got something out of it.
Sounds like she had the patent.
Sounds like she had a lawyer.
She had a lawyer. You got that right.
Gosh.
The Gihan Foundation. Is it time? It's time.
7:30.
Yay!
Well, right now.
All right, Ms. Bailey, I note that it is 7:30 PM. And it is time to close the early voting polls. Please proceed.
Would you like to close the polls?
I would love to close the polls.
It is set up. I may have gotten you to stand up way too early.
Believe me, it's not going to hurt me to stand up a little bit. I can sit on my rear end most of the day.
And then Bria opened up a Hershey bar in order to start this whole thing.
Now, tell me what you just said about the eraser mouse.
Yeah. I'll think of his name in a minute. He wouldn't mind.
Eraser mouse.
But I've had
What is an eraser mouse? Are you talking about just a little thing that is an eraser that's shaped like a mouse? What is
if
that?
you look, not every computer has it. I mean, they used to be on all
that
of them.
kind of mouse.
The thing that it's right smack dab in the center of the keyboard,
Oh, yeah.
and it looks
Yeah,
like
yeah.
an eraser. It's a mouse.
Mouse pad.
Got it. You're talking
Mouse
about
pad.
that. Yes, thank you. That little red. Yeah, right. It was horrible.
Yeah, but they put him on every single computer in the world, and I thought, why? Because I couldn't
I'd
use it.
forgotten about that
I gotta
thing.
think of his name. It just jumped out of my head. He's a friend of mine. But this is terrible.
What they ended up doing was they removed that little red button and they put a little trackpad down below the space bar.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That worked a lot better.
But there was a slew of computers that had both.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that red thing.
The pointing stick.
Ooh, there it is. That's it.
Have you got one on yours? Yeah. Okay, well, that's
all right.
one of your neighbors invented that, and it has nothing to show for it other than good memories.
Yeah.
Didn't make any money off that.
No, he was working for IBM. It was his job to invent stuff. Now, nowadays, they would give people incentives to avoid them suing them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
back then, they didn't.
Yeah. Exactly.
He just wanted out of the rat race.
Well, I'm glad you explained what an eraser mouse was, because I had this thing about like a little kid mouse eraser.
And you meet this guy, you'd never guess that about him.
That's what Steve Watson did.
Oh, yeah, something like that, sure. So, that's apparently that's the default profession of technologists, except that Steve had something to show for it. Hello? Okay, you guys gonna watch
Everyone
it?
knew how much fun it was in here, they'd be here more.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell people, so they know.
Woohoo! Liquid paper, $48 million.
That sounds like
Hey, we're the monkeys
sounds like a comic, a cartoon character. Eraser Mouse.
singing. Yeah, we're the monkeys.
Do we have anybody online?
And listening.
I hope my microphone was on.
Where Jake's backup?
No, because this was screening me. This was well cited.
What's taking her so long, Jake?
Just be glad we have one of them
Right
today.
now it says, loading elections, please wait.
She mixed it up with a real candy bar.
want to sit down? Yeah. Yeah, it works every time.
Take about 5 seconds of my rear end hitting the seat. Okay. I love it. I love working with you guys.
Love it when a plan comes together.
Well, you're nice enough to laugh at most of my jokes. You don't laugh at all.
You taking names?
Oh, but wait a minute. I gotta tell you. So, at a meeting like 10 days ago, a couple weeks ago, I suggested a really stupid movie for people to see, and I have been roundly criticized by any number of people. Oh, you should go watch Frosty. And they come back at me, and I will never get that time back in my life. How dare you do that? I said, it's not that bad, it's just silly.
Frosted?
Unfrosted. And my friend said, I didn't laugh once. Unfrosted, what did I say? That was the best.
Yeah, weird. What a coincidence.
No. The movie Unfrosted is about the development of the pop tart.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned this,
And,
and I
and it
promptly
stars
forgot it.
Jerry Seinfeld. But it's got a lot of folks that you'll recognize in there.
Just won't laugh.
So what's the premise of the whole movie, just like in the bumper
It's just,
sticker?
it's silly. It's a send-up of this product development exercise. And, but it's based on a real story in the development of Pop Tart, which was a competition between Kellogg's and Post.
Huh.
Two. And Kellogg's won, Post won. But well, I don't want to give away the movie, except I know you're not going to watch it. And in the movie,
Is that like what they call voting first past the post?
first past the post. That's what our elections are.
So there's kind of a genre there, and that like the Social Network movie. If you haven't seen that, that's a marvelous movie. And then there was one about the BlackBerry that I watched. I was on the plane and I got to see about half of it. I got to get back on the plane to see the rest of it.
Well, the Social Network was a serious film. You know, you hear about the competition between the twins and Zuckerberg and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, how would you compare it to that one?
Well, that, I would say that the Facebook movie has more artistic merit. And it's a,
Than the BlackBerry one?
and it's a fairly, I haven't seen that one, and it's a fairly true telling of what actually happened. The Pop-Tarts one is,
Oh, it's like,
it's got more than a little silliness.
it's just fun. Okay, I would be good. I'm glad.
There should be 3 copies of the results.
Right.
Please sign
The Social Network,
and everyone has signed.
I don't like watch movies where people are embarrassed for the
Yeah.
benefit of others, and there's just a lot of that in that movie. That makes my hair hurt.
Yeah, I know.
I have too much empathy with people
Yeah.
who are being humiliated to
Teased or whatever.
yeah, it's like that.
You want a smoother one?
I thought it might be textual,
Anything with
it's not.
angst in it. So we,
Are we gonna pass it around, or are we gonna get up and come to it?
I'm gonna pass it around.
well, does he have a
Cool.
home?
Have to sign 3 times.
Can't have too much angst. Really good hair. Okay. But
No, I so get that.
Do we have to
It's
sign
like,
the
why do you-
zero tape too?
Why would you sit and,
for your enjoyment.
exactly, I mean, why, you can't, and time that, like I said, I can't give that time back.
Right.
Let me see.
When did I do that?
See what it says.
So watch and learn about things you enjoy.
Absolutely, and the only time I watch movies is when I'm flying intercontinental on a plane, so that's like once a year. for 14 hours straight.
That's it, because I'm not going to speak.
Other than that, I'm
Okay, now
I'm gonna
move
sit
here.
down in the meeting. You know, I guess
If I'm in a theater, that's different, but if I'm just at my own house, I'd rather
55,
Yeah, it ought to be.
I'd rather sit on the back porch and listen to the creek.
55.
Gretchen, Stevens Lee?
No, transfer station.
Okay, that's even closer. Yeah, with 0 votes.
Same amount.
There it is.
It would have been sooner, except I was answering the phone. It's giving me an untransferred data error.
Uh-oh.
You did pretty well, though. It's less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, when it's 0, it's easy to. Can't go too wrong.
I realize all of those tuned in at home are not getting the full benefit of the humor being expressed in this room, and I regret that. But I will remind everyone, if you were here in person, you would be experiencing the fullness of the humor in this room. So, virtual participation is great, but there's nothing like in person.
People do express astonishment to me at how different the actual physical presence of everyone in the room is from the virtual, and how much they missed once they saw what's happening when we're all together and we're present, as opposed to when we're like, talking heads or whatever we
Oh.
are.
So you mean once some of these folks have experienced the virtual, they want the actual.
Exactly.
Oh,
Or that once they've experienced the actual, they never want to go back to the virtual.
Fair enough. There's some days where I might expect it to go the opposite direction, but
Yeah. that's
I
right.
like that. I like that.
Have
If you've
mercy.
experienced the actual, you forget the virtual. That's okay. So
For the analog.
closing the early voting poll.
So Bria and Devin are uploading the results now, so they should appear on the website shortly. And it looks, is that another question? No.
Just got one little
Yes.
laying around somewhere.
I will remind everyone that the next meeting date is on Friday, May 17th at 3:30 p.m. at 59 Woodfin Place. Hope to see everyone here on Friday at 3:30 p.m. to share in our amazing good humor. So, I'll just remind anyone who is tuned in virtually that we're about to wrap things up here, and we will recess to 50 Cox Avenue, from where the meeting will be adjourned. We can turn this bad boy off.
Everything is copacetic, you two, I presume, on these tapes?
That, Upper Harmony Board meeting is on Thursday, the 23rd.
This week? No, it's this Thursday.
It's Friday.
Ooh.
It's this Thursday.
No, Friday.
Ooh.
What? Thursday? What?
Ooh.
Thursday?
Yeah. All right.
No,
Well,
that's
What are we
for
talking
when
about?
he's going to the fire department.
Oh, yeah.
7 o'clock. Okay.
That's what was confusing me. I thought you suddenly changed the date on me, and I'm going, no.
Well, I'll be here.
I did see an email from the state board that reminded us that tomorrow they're going to have a session where they poll the precincts that we use for that.
And that'll be Monday.
10 o'clock on the-
Tim, for those, did he come in? Oh, just two.
One big, one small? Or we don't know yet? Huh? Well, for this one, yeah.
Wayne, I'm curious, did you hear any feedback on how the electronic signature verification worked in those 10 counties?
They didn't continue it in Henderson County. They don't have a software provider that they've approved, so it hasn't actually gone into effect.
I thought they were going to do it for the primary.
They were supposed to, but the state said they did not find a suitable
So they
software.
ended up not doing it.
So they haven't yet,
Oh, I
if they're
see.
supposed to,
The plan
but
is
it's,
still to proceed.
yeah, it's been postponed until they can find what they consider a suitable software company.
Well, I noticed there was a number of memos that came out of about that signature there, the electronic signature there.
Yeah, Henderson County was supposed to be one of those counties, but
Yeah.
it has not been done. Until they approve the provider, it won't be done anywhere, so.
Well, do you know how it works? Could I just put I mean, how,
No, I really don't know, because there's probably more than one type of software they use.
yeah.
I imagine there's a plan for comparing basically, it'd be comparing the graphics. It's just like they would, if you had a handwriting expert do it, they would program that into the software to look for those things. You know, the slant and that kind of stuff. But I have never actually seen it work, so. I may have to look into that a little, to see what software companies are doing it. It would be your registration signature. Yeah. And the interesting thing is, I would be interested if they're gonna be keeping a data bank of your signature. Because your signature will modify slightly with age or health condition.
Yeah.
You know, so, interesting to see. I may actually see if I can find out what companies produce that kind of software.
finally got the other pentagram. Sure, should have gotten that.
Yeah, okay. So the same thing happened with me?
There's an extra one here.
Or just keep, we should each get one.
Okay. I'll
I do as much as I can, but once I get to Genius, then I can look at the hints. And so, as soon as I looked at the hints, and I saw that impossibly long word, it's like, how did you, oh, that's how. So it's,
I just stop. When I become a genius, there's no, why would I want to go any further? I mean,
oh,
you're there.
no, you've got to become Queen Bee.
Queen bee.
That's when you get them all.
Have you done that?
I just
Have
play
you been
solitaire
queen bee
games.
before?
I'm Queen Bee every
my
day.
5 solitaire games every day.
Yes. And my wife gives me unlimited grief about being Queen
I bet
Bee.
she does.
I said, well, honey, they don't call it King Bee, okay, so I can deal.
You're man enough to deal with being queen bee?
AK,
I've been called a whole lot worse.
keep this here. Somebody might like to have it.
Yeah, that's the procedure.
Yeah. I eat all the chicken though.
No, I'm still working on it.
They keep, I end up with 2 of these and 1, and the chicken is plenty, so. So somebody else can have one.
Interesting. So let's see, we have covered all kinds of fascinating topics.
How many bands was Eric Clapton in?
Well, let's see, he was in Queen, he was in Blind Faith, he was in Derek and Dominoes,
Yep.
he was in,
The Doors?
no,
No,
didn't
that
play
was,
with Doors.
that
but
was,
he was part of Joe Cocker's Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour, so there's that.
wow, I didn't know that.
Who are we talking
Yeah,
about
Jim
now?
Morrison was the Doors.
Eric Clapton.
Oh, okay, sure.
Wow, that's a good one. Forgot about Mad Dogs.
What else? Well, that was really crucial, because that's where he met Delaney and Bonnie, and then he did the tour with them, and that's where he met the guys he ended up doing Derek and the Dominoes with.
He opened for Delaney and Bonnie?
No, he was part
Part
of
of them.
that tour, and he enjoyed it, because that was after all the Cream and Blind Faith supergroup stuff. He just wanted to be ready to walk Eric, be in the background, and he did. Had a good time. We got Layla out of that.
Yep.
My granddaughter's name.
Nice name.
Is that why?
And it has nothing to do with Derek and the Dominoes. It's the fact that her other granddad is Persian. And there's a poem about unrequited love. Layla and Namu? I don't know who the guy, I can't remember the guy's name, I always remember the girl's name. And that poem was Clapton's inspiration for the song back in the day. Well, my granddaughter's name is Layla Pasha Quinn, and Pasha is her granddad's name. His name was Mahmoud Pasha, and so Layla got her one grandfather's family, and Tyler got the other grandfather's family. His middle name, not his middle name, is Powers, and that's my wife's mother's name. And that there were no descendants of the Powers. So we wanted to keep that keep it going. We wanted to keep Pasha going too.
So here's fun facts about Jim Morrison. You were talking about the Doors. So,
The Lizard King.
so here's one that, 9 things you probably didn't know about Jim Morrison. Before beginning his acting career, Harrison Ford worked as the Doors stagehand and second camera assistant.
Who knew the Han Solo?
How about
Nice.
that?
Like that one.
More.
That's a revelation.
Here's one. I think I remember this one. When the Doors were invited to perform on the Ed Sullivan Show, the network asked that they change the lyrics of the song "Light My Fire"
And
so
they
as-
were ignored.
so as not to talk about drugs. Morrison agreed to the change. However, when he performed the song, he dismissed the request and sang the original lyrics. The show's host, Ed Sullivan, was reportedly furious and later refused to shake hands with the band. They were never
They
invited
were
back.
never invited back. That's right. I remember that one.
Yeah, I kind of. That one.
Are we going to the warehouse? Yeah, so I just want to check in. We have done everything we need to do here. They're working on uploading results. We've got flash drives in. You've seen cars drive by. So we can continue to wait longer or head over to the warehouse, whatever the board would like.
There's nothing we need to approve that they're doing.
You already approved the abstracts, closed the polls, have the results.
The board would appreciate a staff recommendation.
Here's this tape.
I-
Does it need to go with the flash drive?
Yes.
There's a little envelope right there.
I think so. I think we could, I think it,
Motion to,
Yep.
Recess?
adjourn?
Recess.
We're going to
Recess.
recess at 7:56, and we will reconvene at 50 Cox Avenue at 8:15.
Here's another one. Like,
It's just
It's yours.
I'd say acclamation without objection.
Without objection.
Morrison
Hearing
had
none.
an IQ of 149 and developed profound interest in poetry, devouring the romantic works of William Blake and the
Do we need
contemporary
parking